Francis, because Francis was the person who organised the public meeting in the Canal Court Hotel, and from that meeting we asked for people to put their names forward, and a lot of people did. So we set up the committee and agreed to run with it. The two items that were hitting us at the very start was the removal of stroke services, and as you know, that unit has now been moved to Craigavon. It has been centralised, and the problems that we had with that was that if you came from Annalong or Kilkeel or Crossing Glen or somewhere like that and you took a stroke, unfortunately, instead of being able to go to Daisy Hill, you had to bypass it and go straight to Craigavon to get the injection. Unfortunately, that service is gone, and it's something that we need to concentrate on to see if we're able to get that back for the future. The other one then, which Francis has already mentioned, is emergency surgery. As you know, emergency surgery was removed on a report that was commissioned by the Minister at the time, and he appointed Professor Mark Taylor to do that report in June of 2021. That report was completed and launched by the Minister in June of 2022. He gave a year for it to be done, and it was done in that year. The one item, if you read all of the report, the one item that was in it that was going to put the death nail on to Daisy Hill was one of the recommendations that emergency surgery couldn't be held over two different sites. So it was either going to be Daisy Hill or Craigavon. So regardless of the outcome of the report, if it was accepted and adopted by the Minister as it was, that meant that emergency surgery at Daisy Hill was gone. The major issue we had, and you'll hear me speaking about it again in a minute, is if you read the terms of reference for the paper that was written in June of 2021 for Mark Taylor to do this, it included a 12-week period for consultation. That consultation never happened. They just went ahead and implemented it. Now we FOI'd them, etc., and the excuse that they come up with at that time was that because each area was going to carry out a consultation themselves, that would cover the emergency surgery. That is not accurate and was not right. I'm not going to talk more about that because we're going to talk about the GRs in a minute and explain what happened there. Then we held our very successful public rallies. The first one wasn't so good, but the second one was tremendous success, and all of the committee worked night and day to make sure that as many people were there as we possibly could. On the day we had over 10,000, which sent out a message to the political people, to the Southern Health and Social Service Trust, to Peter May, the Permanent Secretary, to the Minister. So they were beginning to set up a list and say, look, these people are taking it very, very serious. We better listen, and we better do things for the hospital that is going to make it safer and more secure. And again, I'll come to some of the things that have happened since that. Then SOS, to make sure that they were going to keep the pressure on everybody, they come up with their action plan, which was launched here, and that action plan was fully implemented. Again, that was brought to the attention of the Permanent Secretary because I spoke to him on it, and he congratulated us on how well we were organised, but it was obviously putting fear into them that we were not going to go away, and we didn't, obviously. Now, going back to the judicial reviews, we submitted 2 judicial reviews. One was on the removal of the emergency surgery, and the second was on the failure of Professor Mark Taylor to conduct the consultation that should have happened. However, when you get into the minutiae of doing this, anything that is 3 months completed cannot be JR'd. So because the report was commissioned in June of 2021, implemented in June of 2022, you had 3 months as June, July and August to put your GR in, but we never saw the report. It was launched with all of the doctors and everybody else, so it meant our hands were basically tied, which was very unfortunate because the barristers were convinced that we would have won it, but it's one of the technical things of law. To keep the pressure even further on the board, Francis and myself and a number of others have attended their meetings. So we go to their meetings and Francis normally gets the rights to speak at it. And the reason that we're doing that is to keep the pressure on them to realise that the community and the people and the SOS group were going to continue going was also, I don't know if you know, another group called the Future Ways Committee. It was a committee set up. It was more, I use this analogy regularly, they were the political wing and we were the military wing, because we did all the actions and they had the ministers and all etc. on it. We were very fortunate to be able to get a committee member on that, so again we fully understood what they were doing and we were able to feed that back to the SOS group, and we will continue to do that. Obviously there's no meetings of that at the moment because we're in Purda because of the election. So the reason we wanted to come here tonight was to firstly to thank all of the community, all of the public for their assistance, for turning up at rallies and at meetings and assisting us in numerous ways that was able to allow the SOS group to get successes. Now, one of the major successes that we got was the implementation of the MRI. The scanner is now in, it's up and running. I checked the figures only on Monday. To date there's been 5,000 scans done. That saved a lot of people from this area who were going to have to go to Craigavon. But not only that, it allows the doctors up there to screen somebody when they come in and advise them on what needs to be done to make sure that they're okay. I'm also pleased to announce that a permanent structure is currently being constructed up there for a permanent MRI scanner, which was one of the targets that we had set ourselves. We also crucified them regarding the loss of staff, and as you know there was a large number of staff, 8 or 9 of the doctors left within a very short period of 1 year approximately. Pleased to say to you, and it's not perfect but we're getting there, the recruitment of additional medical staff from consultants down to house officers is 29. So you have 29 extra medical staff now that you did not have in the past. Then there was a minor injury unit that has been set up. That basically means that instead of you going up to A&E where you could be there for 15 hours, you can ring up to the minor injury unit. They will give you a date and a time when you can go to them, so you don't really need to sit in A&E all that time. We have, I know there is an argument about this, but you have retained your grade 1 accident and emergency unit. It's fully staffed, it is there, it is working. And can I say to you folks, there's a lot of rumours in the town, and there always is in Newry. Newry is famous for it. Daisy Hill's A&E is going nowhere. The Craigavon cannot manage the number of people that attend A&E at Daisy Hill every single day. The place would just shut down. So one of the aims and objectives that we have is to stop the negativity about the hospital and this is happening and that's happening. We're trying to say Daisy Hill is fine, because if you don't do that, when you put out an advertisement to recruit staff, you're not going to get them, because the first thing they'll do, they'll go into Google, they'll say, oh, Daisy Hill is going to close. So that's something we're trying to stop. We're trying to put a positive spin on it and say that Daisy Hill is not perfect, and we're not going to stop all of the things that we're doing, but it is in a hell of a better place now than it was before the SOS group got up. And the other expansion is the elective surgery. Elective surgery now, they're going to add in paediatrics, and all caesareans for the Southern Health and Social Services Trust are done at Daisy Hill now. So there's developments that are happening on a regular basis. Before I finish, the crucial thing to say tonight is that we crucified the trust. There's no shadow of doubt, and they were afraid of us because every time they turned round we were there, and we were putting in FOIs, we were asking questions, we were going to meetings. So the thing I'm going to say now is that the next battle that is going to come up is the shortfall in funding. But we have to acknowledge, and I said this at our last meeting, is that it's not the fault of the Southern Health and Social Services Trust that budgets have been cut. Now, if you take a look at the budgets, to run Daisy Hill and Craigavon, I'll tell you what it is now, actually, the estimated to run it perfectly the way it needs to be run is 1.01 billion a year. And as you know, the allocation that comes from Westminster to the Stormont Executive is 14.5 billion per annum. So health, if you take all the rest of the hospitals, is taken up over 50% of the budget for Northern Ireland. But currently, the Trust finds itself in the invidious scenario that for them to operate, they need 1.01 billion. They're currently going to get 960 million, which means they're short 50 to 60 million pounds. Now, the reason I'm saying that's not the fault of the trust, and it's not. It's a financial situation. They have no powers to raise money or to work out the budgets themselves. That is left to the executive. And our next battle is going to be, and this is where we're going to look to support the people, is political. One question I have to ask immediately is, the agreement that was reached to get the Assembly up and running again was that there was a windfall that came in. And the windfall that came in was over £1 billion, and I believe it's even more now. So where has that money gone? Why could 50 to 60 million pounds not be given to Daisy Hill or to the trust to give them the monies that they need to run the complete services that they need? So therefore we need to start now cranking up the requests for meeting with the political groupings. We have already put a request in to meet with the Northern Ireland Health Committee. We've got a response saying that they want to come, but we don't know when. So we will be forging ahead to meet with all the political groupings separately, and then I would recommend together to see what sort of a plan or a strategy that they have to ensure that the proper financial systems and the proper financial support is put in place to allow the trust to run the hospitals the way that we are looking them run, and to provide us with the capital monies that we're going to need in the future to ensure that Daisy Hill gets the bill it needs. Because remember, they have moved into the council offices, they bought them, and that was another major success of ours, which means all of their admin is down there and extra services. So there's additional space in Daisy Hill where a substantial number of services can be introduced to the satisfaction of all of us. So our target, our new plan, and we're going to take it to the next meeting of the SOS group, is how we manage those meetings with the political groupings, what questions we want to ask, how we're going to publicise that, how we're going to put it onto Facebook, to Instagram, to TikTok, to say these meetings are happening, because people out there need to know that we as a committee are going to do what we say. And we'll come back next year again to advise everybody as to what it is that we've done. So that's where we currently are. I'm sorry for going on for so long.
Keep on, Eric.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Will we get the? Do you want to get the AGM stuff, the governance stuff over now, and then we'll put it up for discussion? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right.